U.S. bombing Iran? Like, what's that about, dude? No.
Well, let's talk about Iran. I want to know where you're at on this, because it's just, man, for me, as a black conservative libertarian, I voted for Trump because I thought we were going to be America first.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to like not have any wars. I thought we were going to just like be fighting for peace. And he said things in his first time like, would it be so bad if we got along with Putin? Would it be so bad if we got along with Kim Jong-un?
Yeah.
And I love that. Like as a veteran who never deployed and never wanted to, I don't want to see other people go deploy and go fight a war for anyone other than America. And I just feel like we're going out and fighting a war for Israel instead of watching out for our own best interests in mind. Where are you at on Iran? How do you feel about this?
I feel that the whole Israel thing, it's like the easy thing for everyone to say, and especially like now with all the content just being geared towards that. So like everyone, even if they don't know anything about anything, they just immediately are like, oh, we're doing it for Israel or whatever. I'm not saying that's what you are or whatever, because because there is that, that perception of it, right? And I feel like right now the goals of Israel, I mean, obviously, I feel like Israel, yes, they've always wanted us to, because that's their goals for the U.S. to fight Iran for them, whatever. And right now, in this day, this time period, right now, and just in this certain campaign or whatever, I just feel that the goals just overlap, and because no one's looking at like the America's goals, they just assume we're like a puppet or whatever for Israel or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel, and this is where like, because like I used to. This is what I talk about with like my friends and stuff, as far as that are liberal and stuff. It's like you're still living in like the 90s or like the early 2000s when America was number one. And, back then it's like, I wanted us to like Obama and stuff. I just loved like, it was all about dialogue with other countries and stuff like that, whatever. But like China and Russia and all those countries, while we were playing by the rules and stuff, they were, slowly just building up their military or whatever. And then now China has this military that is, it's basically designed to defeat the U.S., right? And so what I look at it right now is it's no longer U.S. is number one. It's you got China up and coming, right? And they definitely want to supplant us as like the number one power, right?
Okay.
And so as far as when I say it's like a global chessboard right now, it's like Iran is just one of those. It's like you're either Team America or Team China.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. And right now, because like right now, like, Taiwan, that would be a big strategic win for China if they went in there and we did nothing, they took it over, right? So when I look at what Trump's doing with like Venezuela, because like all these countries, either you're aligned with the U.S. or you're aligned with China, right? Yeah. Venezuela was aligned with China and Russia and those guys, right? But boom, we went in there, we basically took out, the pro-China people and all that. And eventually, long term, Venezuela will no longer be aligned with them. And that's going to be a huge kind of blow as far as for energy and like the natural resources they were trying to get from that. And then even now Iran, right? Because Iran, if you look at the Gulf, right, it was like all those countries on the west side of the Gulf, Saudi Arabia, Oman, all those places, whatever.
The GCC?
Yeah, they're all pro-US. And then on the other side, you had Iran, who is obviously anti-US or whatever. So again, long term though, if we can go in there and make it that entire Gulf now is pro-US, that is even like the we might not, you don't have to agree, like every country doesn't have to be like America. You know what I'm saying? Like Saudi Arabia and all those, they can but as long as they're Team America, dude, you know what I mean? Because that's the biggest shift that I've had as far as like the way I look at it now. Because I look at it like that. I'm like, no, like right now the lines are being drawn. Either you're with us, against us. So basically, what I'm saying, like strategically, right now, yes, Israel, that's what they wanted, right? And they are kind of, I think they're grabbing land right now in Lebanon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're advancing their goals, but that's okay because they're Team US. And then, but basically, Iran, right? If we can make that somehow, which it's kind of scary because it looks like it might be a little bit longer than what Trump thought, whatever. Basically, if we make Iran somewhat pro-US and not, because they're very pro-China, pro-Russia.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, all of a sudden, we have the entire Gulf is pro-US. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it's like now, okay, cool. If you guys take Taiwan, you were able to kind of strangle us with semiconductor and stuff, but now we sort of have a check to that. Because basically now, okay, if you guys do end up taking Taiwan or whatever, and then you have the whole semiconductor industry, we can choke you off at these points or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
isn't it interesting how we perceive what Russia is doing to Ukraine?
Mm-hmm.
And we think about like Russia has invaded Ukraine and this sovereign country that's good. And then Russia looks at us invading Iran, this sovereign country that they're friendly with, that they have deals with. We all know at some point this year, China's going to invade Taiwan and take them back over. And everybody has their moral reasons for why what they're doing is right. The big country goes in and just demolishing bullies. And there's, we're doing it in national security. It's in our best interest. It's the motherland. It's how things were supposed to be. The world got messed up in World War II and the restructuring afterward. Everyone has their reasons for it. And then we think that Russia's the bad guy for doing it to Ukraine. China's the bad guy for doing it to Taiwan. But we are morally right to go into Iran. That's how we think, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's America.
No,
like we're the democracy
to be honest,
country. Like that's how it's supposed to be.
Like what you're saying, and that's the emotional side of things, right? Which I don't really buy into anymore. But basically, like, because like the way I look at Ukraine, right? I'm just like, that's just a weapons testing ground, right? You know what I mean? And Russia, you know, but yeah, like, you know, I'm not saying like to, you know, because I'm a human being. It's like Spain before World War II. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was basically there was the political side of it was like, you know, because it was the same lines being drawn as far as like Germany and the U.S. and stuff, and. But all it was everyone was taking part in that war, and literally it was sort of just testing out weapons or whatever for the bigger war.
Yeah,
what eventually was or whatever. And it's like it's sort of like the same thing in all these little theaters. Because even like Iran, right, with when we went in there and we sort of took out their nuclear program. Because like there's certain things that like they don't talk about it or whatever. But again, it's part of the chess game because. It's like all those radars, and even Venezuela supposedly had all these. They were supposed to be able to detect things, and same thing with Iran. They had because like with their partnership with China they had all this military equipment, stuff like that. And basically, because that's a big thing, it's like, you know, how can the U.S. stand up against this new tech that China's putting out, whatever. And supposedly they're supposed to be able to detect them, but we went right in there, you know, with our B2s and all that, whatever. Yeah. And just fucking, you know, we just fucked him up. And not one plane was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was like, and everyone was like getting mad about us going in. But I was like, also, that's also telling China, supposedly that awesome radar you guys had or whatever, that's supposed to be able to, it didn't do shit.
Well, okay, so you know? Let's like talk about that piece, because I think one thing when I talked to my wife about this, she goes, you know, whether or not it was for Israel or for the Jews or not, like we're showing that we're strong as America. We're showing that to China, showing it to Russia. And I'm like, don't they already know that?
No, they don't. They take advantage because like Obama, right? I love Obama, right? But basically, like just one example of that was like those man-made islands they were making, you know?
I don't even, tell me.
Because China was making these man-made islands, right? Just going in there and supposedly for scientific purposes and stuff like that. And it's all in the news or whatever. Like as far as like them talking to Obama, they promised they were never ever gonna weaponize them or whatever. They're just literally just making these man-made islands. You know?
Dude, I've never heard it. So in the middle of the Pacific, there's islands that China's
And then
making.
it was all like, you know, again, diplomatic, and U.S. was still number one. If Trump was in office, he probably would have bombed them, right? But it was what we all wanted, right? It was all being solved diplomatically. And again, that's what I'm saying. China was taking advantage of that because they don't play by the rules. So like they'll play along, right? Like they're playing by the rules, but at the end of the day, they're doing whatever they want to do. And then eventually, all of a sudden you saw the airstrips being put on them and all that. And by then it was too late. You know what I'm saying? And
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And they think we don't play by the rules.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you guys are out there.
There are no rules, dude. That's the thing, dude.
Dude, I was watching the UN speeches because all this stuff went down with Iran. We started bombing them, and then they were showing the UN on CNN. And so first, like, they're showing, you know, the US delegate to the UN who's talking, and he's sitting right across from the Iranian guy. And just like, it's a farce that they're even a part of this committee, you know, this group that's so bad for human rights and all that. And then the Iranian guy has a turn to talk, and it's like, he thinks we're the bad guys. Like we all have this like moral superiority that we think like, you know, you bad, us good, and like you are the existential crisis to the world.
That's what I'm saying, though.
I
don't look at the world like that anymore, dude. I look at it as, and it's like selfish or whatever, but basically it's like, I play for the team I'm on, right? And I live in America. Like, you know,
if you're America first.
If I lived in China, if I lived in Iran, you know, whatever, like, you know, but, and they're doing whatever the fuck they can do, whatever. But now it's like, what your wife was saying is like, we're projecting, because like we've always had this amazing military, right? But it's like now we're using it, you know what I'm saying? And what I love about Trump, you know, is that he's like, he says the craziest shit or whatever, but if you look at what he's doing, he's shoring up the Western Hemisphere, right? Venezuela, even the Greenland talk, right? It's like, because eventually the Arctic is going to be, you know, when all that shit melts or whatever, it's going to be a race. And while everyone's all like trying to be nice and be like, oh, that's, you know, it's like, no, like, what are they going to like do with that? Because you got Russia surrounding already, and then China, you know what I mean? Like, so basically it's like, we need that because it'll be strategic for us. Again, it's just another strategic overall piece.
Did Biden not know about Greenland and the strategy going into it? Was he just not talking
sometimes
about
it feels like they don't, man. Like, because going back to the man-made islands, like I could see like, no, eventually they are going to militarize those things.
Yeah.
But, you know, like they fucking, you know, they didn't do shit. You know what I mean? Like, they just let them do it. And then it was all like this promise that, you know, that they're not gonna do that, and then now they are, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but that's why I look at things now, like even the Philippines. I'm half Filipino, right? So, you know, remember Marcos?
You're
right?
half white, half Filipino?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically Marcos, right, he was this dictator in the 80s and stuff like that, or whatever, or whenever he was, but he got overthrown or whatever, but he was a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
And then years and years later, his son all of a sudden was popular, and now we have Marcos back in power in the Philippines, which if you look at it emotionally, right, and you're not looking at it as like Team US or whatever, that's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, no. But the thing with him is he's very pro-US, and he allowed us to reopen a bunch of bases on the Philippines, because that's the big thing with China and Taiwan is they have invested so much money in this. It's like, I think it's called anti-access or whatever. Okay. Because our big thing was the carriers. We can park a carrier, but now they have hypersonic missiles that they can sink carriers from like, you know, way farther than we can start flying sorties out and stuff. So it literally, like, our carriers are sort of like obsolete, basically. Well, I mean, we won't know until we have a big Pearl Harbor moment.
Do you know all this because you were in the Navy? Is that why you?
It's because I listen to podcasts. But yeah,
okay, but you were in the Navy.
No, but in the Navy,
like,
yes,
you've been on these ships.
So
how long were you in? 10 years?
Yeah, but the tech when I was in, right? I still had this feeling that even back then that our shit was becoming obsolete, but we don't know that until we have a Pearl Harbor moment. Like right now, like in the Gulf or whatever, I was always like scared of that. Like, we're gonna go in there because like basically it's like the countries they couldn't match us. Like, you know, like Iran couldn't just, you know, build 10 carriers, right? You know what I mean? Like, so they have all sort of invested in like anti-ship missiles and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And basically, even when I was in, dude, there was missiles that, you know, that we knew we couldn't stop. You know what I mean? If they fired them at us.
You couldn't stop it. But
yeah.
Let me ask you this, because I think if I summarize what I believe you're saying, it's that first off, when you say Ukraine is a weapons testing ground, you're not being inhumane to like the loss of life that's happening there. You're saying that it's Russia attacked. It's become a proxy war for the other major powers for us to arm them. Yeah. And we're actually testing out our technology in that war because we want to know how we stack up against Russia face to face. And the same thing is what they'll do to us as we go into Iran. They're going to practice and arm and see if their technology is any good too. And we go into Venezuela and they're figuring out, okay, did our stuff work
But
or not?
Thing with like Ukraine, right, that wasn't the reason why all this got, you know, I'm not saying that it was literally planned to become a weapons.
But they're using it as an opportunity to say, hey, since the U.S. is here or since Russia is here, let's go in there and test out these missiles and this defense system.
I don't know if they're doing that purposefully, right? But that is what it's becoming.
Oh, dude,
you know what I mean?
I wasn't on this before I talked to you, but now I think that's exactly what's happening. That's why we do these proxy wars.
You didn't think that?
No, I wasn't even.
I always think this is like how everyone thinks.
But that's my point, though. I think you have a very
Yeah.
unique perspective because number one, like you were in the Navy, you were on these ships, you've been all over the world, I assume, on ships.
Yeah.
Were you like aircraft carriers?
No, I was on the destroyer.
Destroyers. That's like,
2 destroyers.
and that was like what goes around an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, exactly.
Or does it go out on its own?
Basically, you got the carrier, right? It's a carrier strike group, and then you have the carrier itself. It's just a big ass fucking airport, right? And then it has defense capabilities, but really its main defense is all the destroyers, cruisers, frigates that are surrounding it. Because destroyer itself is basically an anti-missile kind of platform. That's what it is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
you would shoot missiles to knock down something that shoots at the
exactly
aircraft carrier.
Yeah. So
that's wild because most people don't know this stuff, and I know like for me, I was in the Army, so I know a lot of stuff about like I'm sure ground invasions that would be like news to you because like that's what I trained for. I was trained for like small arms combat. You know, platoon level, like 30 people, or going out in a squad level. It's what I really trained on when I was in ROTC was it's like, okay, my 8 people versus their 2. Like that's what the scenarios that we were doing.
Yeah.
But you have this understanding from the naval side that is like, as a lay person, I'm fascinated by it because I have heard, tell me if this is true, you are safer on an aircraft carrier than you are in Los Angeles in terms of like a missile coming and hitting you. As hard as it would be for someone to send a missile to Los Angeles, you're actually safer on an aircraft carrier. True or false?
If you read, I mean, I would say that's, well, you know, if it's, you know, if the, well, yeah.
If you're part of a carrier strike group with all of those destroyers,
I don't know, man. Because like, well, I don't. I would say yes, right? But basically, we don't know how we're gonna fare against like a barrage of 100 hypersonic missiles coming at the carrier. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, but I guess.
But 50 hypersonic missiles, you'd be fine.
I don't know, man. One, I don't fucking know, dude. Like, I'm scared of those carriers sitting out there right now.
Well, that's what I wonder about.
You know?
I'm kind of like, okay, so we've been amassing this force near Iran for a long time. Anytime the Navy goes out, as a layperson, I'm kind of like, aren't they like sitting ducks out there? Like, couldn't China, Russia just literally just go blow up the whole thing?
That's what I'm saying. We're it's like we're using the military because like Venezuela, it's like we're using it and we're just kicking the shit out of these dudes right now that like they can't do that.
Did you see the footage of our submarine sinking the Iranian
even
destroyer?
that I'm just like because like the thing is
footage,
it's like
I'm watching that and I'm just kind of like, there is no ship that's safe in the water. Like you can't even see a nuclear sub, right? Like, you don't even know it's there.
That's what sucks, dude.
And all of a sudden, like it kills. Like, oh, we killed 70 people today and sunk an Iranian destroyer. And I'm like, 70 people.
Yeah. And
ship
honestly, like if you look at it, it looks cool. We wiped out their entire navy and
America.
Stuff. But like their military,
what?
it wasn't.
People.
It's not like their biggest thing is the missiles and the drones. You know what I mean? And they're still launching those things. So
yeah,
I feel like eventually there's going to have to be some kind of ground thing, right? And I don't know if you saw that, but they're like, the CIA is over there fucking like arming the Kurds. It's always the Kurds, man.
The Kurds are in Iraq, right? That's where the Kurds are.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
The Kurds are in Iraq.
No, I want to say it's Iraq and Iran. I mean, they border each other or whatever.
Okay.
But basically,
so
it's
our
like,
big master plan for the U.S. is to go arm the Kurds.
I feel
and have
like
them go take over
that's
Iran.
usually the script, right? Is like arm the locals first.
Yeah.
See if they can take care of the problem before. Because that's you look at Vietnam, like Iraq, I guess, or whatever, Afghanistan, or what. It's always that like, you want to arm them so it's not us doing it, right? Because obviously America, it doesn't take us long for us to lose once we start losing people and shit,
Yeah, which has already started, but not in mass, but would if it came down to it? Well, let me ask you this: politically, you've been Democrat, Republican, all over the place.
Yeah. Well,
as of
just
right
recently, I lean Republican.
Okay.
See, here's the deal. If we were still in the 2000s, the 90s and stuff, I would never, ever support a dude like Trump, right? Because it was globalism, every country had their role and stuff. But now that every fucking country is run by a fucking lunatic, I want to know that we have the craziest fucking lunatic.
Okay, so fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Enough.
Like,
but you articulated earlier, like you want to help this country.
Yeah,
like, you're America first. So today I would say you're America first, Republican, maybe MAGA. Maybe not.
What is that? Like, so I don't like when I see ICE and all that shit, like there's like that part where I don't like but like if literally the thing that I support the most is just his hawkish kind of him going at these countries or whatever, and not, being played.
What I want to rationalize, because like we can dig into ICE and talk about that piece too domestically, but if either you're America first or you're for us being like the world police, and kind of going out and doing what Trump is doing right now. I'll say for myself, I am that kind of leaning right, but more so libertarian than anything else. But I am America first, and I do want to see the issues solved here. Before we go out and spend a bunch of money. And there are things that don't make sense to me, like foreign aid doesn't make sense to me. And maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't understand like the world economy, but like when I hear we're giving countries, I'm not just saying this about Israel, I'm saying about a lot of countries,
I don't know, didn't he like just wipe the whole board of that?
Yeah, the USAID, they came in like, oh, this money is being wasted here. We're America first. And I loved that. And I'm sure that there's people starving today because we took away aid, and like that sucks. But I am America first, and it has to be our country first. And we have a lot of issues to deal with before we go deal with the rest of the world's issues. My problem then is when we go to war and you hear like they're saying we're spending $1 billion a day right now. And I remember just blowing up missiles left and right. And we're like, we're spending some money doing this thing, right? Okay, what could we do with $1 billion a day extra here?
You always
Dude, we have 50 million people on food stamps.
I just always assume, like, I'm a layperson with that. Like, it just seems so obvious,
right? Like, okay, but you're saying that you would support a ground invasion of Iran because it's if American it came down superiority.
Because here's American the deal, power? Dude. I believe we're already in World War III. You know what I'm saying? It's just not like it's not like a full-fledged thing yet. Like with China, we're already at war with China in every single way, but militarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And eventually it'll probably happen. You know what I'm saying?
But I always thought that the World War III was going to be about AI. Everyone's saying the next war is not going to be fought with missiles. Many fucking problems. It's going to be computers and AI. And you're like, okay, but we're fighting a war right now with missiles and people. Like there's people dying from this.
Yeah.
So like this is the precursor to World War III?
Yeah, dude.
Or are we in World War III?
It'll eventually be the drones and shit. Like, because was it Anduril and all that stuff? Or with that big company?
Anthropic?
No, not well, they do Claude or whatever, but no, it's Anduril or something.
I don't know about this.
Well, basically it's the dude that he created the Oculus.
Okay.
He sold it for like $1 billion. Then he made this defense company. All right. And I think his name's like Palmer Luckey. He looks like such a
this
like
is
a
not Palantir.
Sci-fi fucking villain, dude. Well, that's another one. It's like these new kind of players in defense, right? But I actually, because and that's another thing too. I think the biggest thing that kind of started swaying me and becoming red pilled was actually like listening. Like when I said, we crave long form and shit. Yeah, it was me watching. It was a long form interview with who's the fucking Trump's daughter's husband. What's his name?
Kushner.
Yeah,
Jared Kushner.
I used to fucking hate that dude, right?
Yeah. Well, he seems like a very hateable guy.
Yeah, I fucking hated that dude, man.
Born into privilege.
But all I ever saw was clips and shit. But then I watched like a 3-hour interview with him. And I literally was like, I hate to say it, but this dude's actually pretty smart. And some of the ideas he was talking about was like, I was like, that's actually pretty smart or whatever. Yeah. And then I started looking more into that. But the same thing, like I'm saying, like the guy Anduril, whatever, he looked like a fucking villain, right? And but he does. Like if you look him up, right, he's got like this weird goat fucking. He just looks like somebody that doesn't really give a shit about humanity. And he's in charge of like, because his company basically they're making drones and like AI kind of military products. But then when I actually like listened to him like in an interview, and he was talking about that because China and all them, they're all doing it already. Yeah. So he's talking about us scaling that too, and then basically like, but that's always the beginning of the sci-fi fucking. Apocalyptic movie. It's always like, well, like what you were saying, like it's not going to be like a person in a cockpit. It's just be AI versus AI. That's how it always starts.
That's what they said it was going to be. I mean, dude, we have robots coming. Yeah. Like we're going to be mass producing robots next year in this country. China's going to be mass producing robots. They're going to be using the brain of the smartest AIs that haven't even been developed yet inside these robots, which is funny because as a Tesla owner, I can already see how the robot thing is going to work because I've had the hardware of my Tesla since 2021. It keeps getting these updates. When I first got it, it could only do self-driving on the highway and it couldn't even do much but change lanes. Then they added an update and you could actually do interchanges. It would like do the different highways for you. And then they added a big update where it was like, we're doing city driving now.
Yeah.
And now I can get into my car in my garage. I turn on self-driving. I tell it where I want to go. And from my garage to, I don't touch the wheel.
Yeah.
I don't have to touch the wheel.
It's the slow march to.
But it's the same hardware that I had before. The brain is getting smarter. So you think about how much smarter ChatGPT and Anthropic and Claude and all that are getting. If the brain is going to get smarter, but now we're using, instead of a Tesla hardware, we're using an Optimus robot as the hardware, and it has the functions to do whatever it wants to jump around, superhuman strength, but it gets smarter and smarter over time. You're like, okay, you're going to buy it once. It's going to be 10 times more functional 3 years later, but you have the device. And then from a war fighting standpoint, now you're wondering to yourself, okay, man, how long before these things are soldiers? And then if you can use that, like, when does the hardware become like unneeded anymore? We're just the computers fighting. We're just like, I'm sending you a virus and I'm hitting you with a virus. And I wonder where this is all going to go very quickly. But for all the stuff they said about World War III being computers and AI, like, no, it seems like it's going to be humans and missiles and ground invasions and like, when does the AI start the fight?
Yeah, it's funny because like the AI, right? Like what do you call it? There was like there was a bunch of AI scientists like before AI, like ChatGPT and all that shit, but they had these rules of when we start developing AI of what we cannot do or whatever, and basically we violated every single one of those.
What we cannot do, so that there's no like no Terminator.
Yeah, exactly.
Comes out. Okay,
and it's literally like it's happening, dude. Like Terminator, like it's becoming like reality, dude. Like but that's what I'm saying. Like it's just like there's that's why I feel like we're in a simulation sometimes. That whole thing, because
Maybe
I'm like,
we are, man.
Because like I'm like, how the fuck did all of a sudden me and you get born like in this time period where we're like in the end game scenario? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are the chances of us, like,
all of human history?
Yeah,
it's kind of like
the billions of years of the universe. You know what I mean? And then like all of a sudden we're here. We're
on one hand, I'm kind of like, hey, it was a great time to be alive. Like, my car literally drove itself.
Yeah,
I had a car.
Yeah, it's
that's only been like the last like 100 years people had cars. I saw something that said, hey, in the last 75 years, the first person to have a hot shower like got to experience that. All of human history, however long it's been, they didn't have hot showers. Electricity, the ability to have a cool place to sleep or a hot place to sleep, regardless of what part of the country you lived in, what the weather was outside. There's a book called The Rational Optimist that makes this whole pitch for why, hey, regardless, you should be pretty optimistic, because look how fast technology has changed things. Think about how many hours you had to work for an hour of light back in the 1800s.
I just think what
to read
sucks
a book at nighttime.
Is
you know?
like we're because like I keep talking about the 90s, 2000s, what that was, because that was globalism, that was America #1, and now basically I just feel like we're trying to figure out what the new world order is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, and when you read history and stuff, right, like even like textbooks and stuff, and there's that little paragraph, right, of like the transitional period. But it's just like still snippet. But then you realize when you read that, because like I remember thinking that, I was like, what the fuck? That took like 40 years. I was like, that was someone's entire fucking life. That they had and we're living through one of those little snippets, and you know what I mean? And it sucks because we can't focus on the good stuff. It's like because obviously there's a lot of things that AI is supposedly gonna solve, and who knows if it's just gonna be for rich people or what, or you know what I mean? Like, but it's like you can't, like right now you can't really focus on any of that, because it's like, you know, we're trying to figure out the world order, and there's all these war, you know what I mean? Like we just got to get through this rough part of history first.
Okay.
And
so we're gonna get to a peaceful other side of this, you think?
I feel like at the end of the day, and I don't know if this has ever been a thing, but it's gonna be like, you know, we'll have checks, right? And that's what I'm saying, like the checks on the energy and stuff that we're creating by, you know, invade. Because what's the alternative of us just leaving Iran alone, dude?
Yeah, well,
they're going to become another fucking North Korea. You know what I'm saying? And
one thing that is just an observation of mine, when you're having an altercation and both people think that they're the good guy and both people think that they're the ones who are right, it tends to linger until somebody shows the other ones like, not that you're going to change your mind that you think you're wrong. I'm just going to overpower you to the point that you have to admit unconditional surrender, right? That like, okay, I guess they're going to win this round. China thinks they're the good guy. Russia thinks they're the good guy. We think we're the good guy. 3 major powers. And that's why I wonder if you go into a conflict like this, right now it's still kind of proxies. You don't have Russia jumping in. You don't have us jumping into Ukraine. But at some point, if those powers ever decide to go at each other and the only terms of surrender are unconditional surrender, like Trump said about Iran this morning, how does that play out against like China versus the US? How does it play out with China and Russia? And global trade, I think about that as an importer and an exporter of how tied we are to countries like China. Like, what does that do if they're just like, okay, no more chips for you guys, okay?
Exactly.
No more soap for you, no more commodities. Like, all of a sudden, it's like we have to start making stuff here or somewhere else. And like, it's so interconnected that it's like, man, for all the things that we have separating us, we actually have a lot more in common with anyone on the planet. As much as they're our enemy, it's like, no, but like, dude, China, you like our stuff. We like your stuff.
The
like,
shit was working, man. And that's what I'm saying.
Is it still working though? Like
no, but here's the deal. Like, because you're talking about good guy, bad guy, right? And like, there is no fucking, I don't think there's like, obviously
You think we're not the good guys?
Again, I live here, so we're the good guys to me.
Okay.
But I can see why other countries think we're the bad guy.
It's a very fair way to look at life.
And I don't fucking care anymore.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care about the emotions of it anymore. I just want to see how it's going to eventually, I hope we're like in a good spot. But what I'm saying is that I feel like globalism was working and like everything you were talking about. But it was all... they talk about how like we thought history was over, right? And because like every country played their role. China was the world's manufacturer, you know what I'm saying? We were basically the world's buyer, and also like kind of like high tech stuff or whatever, design and things like that, and everything was working, you know what I'm saying? Everyone had their role, but that's what I'm saying. China just like fucked everything up because like at the end of the day, like, if you just look at it as like countries are like human beings, right? It was like they knew that they were strong, and it's just that like we should be in charge or whatever. So now they're just fucking everything up because everything working was all predicated on like wars not happening. And, you know what I mean?
What's the other side of the argument though? Like, what is it in China where they're saying that we're the ones who are fucking it all up? Because I'm sure that's their argument. Yeah, that like everything was going fine. Yeah, forget those islands we're making in the Pacific. Like
they can have their opinion. It was working though, and that's the other thing too. It's like I feel like I don't know. Like I'm not a historian. I'm not a fucking like a fucking expert on any of this shit. But if you just look at it, like we reintroduced China to the world like in 2000 when we brought them into the WTO, but it was supposed to be because all of a sudden now we have like 1 billion. And basically it helped them and modernized them and everything. And they were playing their part and everything. They're making all this fucking money and it was fine. You know what I'm saying? And then, I'm sorry. But what I'm saying is like, I feel like we kind of help them get to where they're at. Right. And now they're just like fucking, cause even that, like with all the tech they have and everything, a lot of the companies that were going there, because they talk about China and the stealing technology and stuff. A lot like if you were going to go to China, you like make your product stuff there or whatever, or open up that market. Like in a lot of the agreements, apparently it was like you had to share the technology with them. And what they would do was they'd take the tech, right, and then they'd open up the Chinese version of it, and then they'd fucking just like what that one dude in Shark Tank says, like they just fucking they would crush that fucking company like a fucking cockroach. You know what I mean? And they did that so many fucking times, right? Yeah. Like but it's just like is that what a good guy does? Like, but it was also like when you look at it, because it wasn't like it wasn't a secret they were doing this. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like obvious, like, but they waited till they got to a point where they could start talking shit and then fucking, and they even did it. It was Xi Jinping or whatever, the dude that is running China right now. Yeah. Cause he's a hardline he's a Maoist apparently. You know what I mean? Because the guys before him, they were sort of moderate and stuff, whatever. But basically, they put out it was like the wolf. It was some weird shit, but basically they changed the way they were going to be. They were no longer going to be passive. They're going to be now aggressive. And this is what China is now. But they waited till they were strong enough to be able to do that. Okay. Yeah. And then now US, you're not going to talk down to us anymore because we, now we have a military, you know what I mean? Like, and so does that make sense, sir?
It does. It does. I just, I'm so perplexed on all of it, man, of understanding.
I guess my thing is like, you got to take it out, take the emotions out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you want, as an American, you want to believe that we're the good guys. And here's why I always struggle with that. I think we are the good guys. until I start thinking about the CIA, what the CIA is doing, all those little countries all over the world, starting wars here and funding this operation here. And, we're messing. You talk about China stealing our technology. Like, well, what are we stealing from other people? Like, we're apparently in like the Iranian nuclear program and have people high up in that. Like, we just, and then if you have something we want, we go and take it. Yeah. Like, no one's going to convince me that we went into Venezuela for any other reason than to get access to the oil before we started a war with Iran.
No, of course, dude. Like, and if because people think that like that is like, if you support it, like you're just an idiot. You didn't like. Of course, that's why we fucking do it. It always boils down to fucking resources and shit.
But isn't it crazy? Like the whole storyline was like, oh, we went and plucked this dictator out of Venezuela and freed those. They need what's it called?
It's called casus belli or whatever. Because you can't just go out and start a fucking war. Yeah. Like even the Nazis, man, they had false flag operations to justify them, invading Poland and shit like that. Yeah. Like because like you need a reason to present to the the world, and like and that was for Venezuela, was that, which it's sort of a reason, what I mean, they're flooding the country with their criminals and stuff like that. They're sort of invading us, and then they're bringing all these ingredients of fentanyl and stuff like that. So that's the reason. Yeah, the reason, of course. But again, like, but everyone,
they had oil. I had no idea.
Yeah, but really, but if you take it up another level, it's like no, but they're also China aligned. You know what I mean? And they're also a big, and we don't want the Monroe Doctrine. We don't want that shit. Like, you can't be meddling in our fucking backyard, dude. Like, that's the real fucking reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Venezuela was cool with us and, and they were doing this other shady shit, we wouldn't have done anything. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, so what's the pretense or the precursor for us then going into Iran?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like that's Trump. He's fucking crazy, man. Like because usually there's a big thing like with Bush.
And you like that about him?
No, but like with Bush, right? It was sort of like they did this whole show for the UN and everything in the world justifying why we're going to invade Iraq.
It's a mass destruction.
Basically, Trump just like skipped that part.
Yeah.
Like what is it? But there is a casus belly or whatever, and it was because he just said that, like he's like, oh, I just really was convinced that they would strike first, and it's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah,
but
I had a gut feel, so we attacked them.
But here's the deal, dude, like, and it's like I'm cool with that if that's the excuse, whatever.
Okay, but are you cool then with me at least saying it's kind of interesting? I get why Israel would want this. I don't understand why we would want it. Like, is it possible then that the reason we didn't like fake a whole 9/11 and do all of that? It's like, well, is it possible that they have something on people high up in our government enough to force us to just say, hey, no, you're going to go actually bomb the shit out of them for us. Okay.
But there is a lot of gain for the US in this.
Well, okay. But people aren't articulating that to me. What I'm hearing from people is Iran has a nuclear bomb or is going to have a nuclear bomb, which they're going to fire it at the United States. And it's like, okay, logically, they didn't have a nuclear bomb. If they did have one, they can't reach us. We know that. There's no way that Iran can go bomb Los Angeles with a nuke. So,
but if we did what the threat is
to America. Oh, but our troops are over there. Yeah, we sent our troops over there. We sent people there to them. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I see how there was, and this is a Democratic talking point, by the way. And I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Republican, libertarian at best. I see how there was a threat to Israel from Iran having a nuclear bomb. Yes. I do not see how there was a threat to America from Iran having a nuclear bomb.
What I'm saying, though, is the overall big picture of it, right? The chess game, right? We might not have had immediate threat, right? But overall, if we kept Iran there as a puppet to China, because that's all. It's like either you're America or you're China, and the rest of these are all just our client states. Dude. Like that's just what it is, dude.
What about Russia? Do you put Russia in its own category, or they just put China?
Russia wants to be there, but they're basically becoming a client state to fucking China.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's interesting because our generation doesn't look at Russia the same way that our parents' generation does, where it was like USSR and America.
There is a lot of things too, like
China.
Like with the whole, because obviously it's like when you're talking about good guy, bad guy, and the them invading Ukraine, like if you just look at it, right, it's like, yeah, that's what happened. But then if you start digging into kind of everything that we did leading up to that, us fucking because it's the same argument, you know, and I get it, you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like when I talk about the Monroe Doctrine, like, and how we don't want fucking China, you know, like we were doing that to fucking Russia. Like when we kept expanding NATO, even after the fall of the Soviet Union shit.
Yeah.
And like, and you can even like, cause I go on this thing called newspapers.com, and it's basically just a newspaper archive. Right. But I like it because you can see the perspective of the time. Right. And basically, like, you can see Putin and all those guys, like Russia in general or whatever, like opposing all this. Like, why are you guys still expanding NATO? Because at the end of the day, right, those were their client states, Estonia, like all those fucking countries, Ukraine or whatever. They were, but we were trying to make them Western client states,
Yeah,
or whatever. So we were stealing them from them, and then fucking, you know, they just got tired of it. And
dude, you say you're not a historian, you know a lot of history.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if it's right though, but like it's just how I interpret it.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fact check you. Okay.
One thing that opened my eyes was a conversation you had with Ben, and I remember I was just sitting there listening to you guys, right? But I and maybe this is actually what kind of set me on the path was your ass, dude. Because I remember when you were talking
you.
when you were talking to Ben, dude, and he was bringing up science and all. You just kept hitting him with like, how do you know that though? How do you know that that's all true? Like, were you there? Or?
That's such a good point,
Yeah,
dude.
like,
It's such a we take so many people's word for it.
That's what I'm saying.
People,
Because like,
oh, I'm going off of science. Like, who wrote the book, the science book that you?
Yeah, dude.
You ever met him?
And
Like,
I
you know
believe in
about
all of it,
him?
right? But
Yeah.
then, but when you think about that, that's what we just choose what we believe, right?
Yeah.
And you know, because even like there's things, I don't know how accurate this is, but like I saw one thing. I was on shrooms at the time, but I remember I was watching. It was on Joe Rogan, but there was a dude talking about how space is fake. Space is fake. Like, and it was like you laughed at it, right? But then he started talking. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Look, I believe in the power of people to make compelling arguments.
Yeah.
I can sit in front of a flat earther and they can talk to me about why the earth is flat. And I'm like, it's a compelling point, compelling point, compelling point. Like, you're not saying things that are absolutely crazy. See, I think it's funny because we will polarize a thought process and be like, if you believe in a flat earth, like, you're just stupid. Like, you're an idiot. You're out there.
Yeah.
It's like, no, listen to their points. Like, and just like with logic and reason, say like, I'm not saying that I know the answer and that they're right about it or they're wrong about it. I'm just saying when I hear them make points, I go, well, that is compelling. If that's true, that's very compelling. Now, I do believe the earth is round.
Yeah. I believe space is real.
A lot to support that. You start talking to me about the moon landing and whether or not we went there.
You got guys like Ben,
wonder.
right? Like, you know, and but remember how mad he would get?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like,
I want to get Ben here to do this with us.
Yeah.
And do it live. If he would start talking to us again, Ben.
Yeah.
These are your friends right here. Okay. Remember these guys?
Friends, dude.
we are the ones that cared about you, that we could have open conversations. I think it's a left-wing nut job a little bit, but we could talk about it. You should be able to talk to it about people that have different political views. And I'd like you to come on and have a chat with us. We'll set up the studio with enough space for all three of us.
Is this the camera? Where's the camera?
Well, I'll go to the middle one right now. And come on, Ben, Alex,
come on,
call yourself. We'll fly you in for the day. Yeah, get you here, get you back, Southwest, all day.
No, but like how I'm talking, these are the conversations we used to have on the phone. Me and him, you know what I mean?
I thoroughly enjoyed when we were doing those breakfasts, just being able to. We all came in with these different opinions, but then it was all informed by like current world events, like what was happening in the world. You bring it all of it up.
He had all the wrong opinions.
I think so. But you know what? I enjoy the argument and the debate more than I enjoy. Like, am I actually right about this? Like, we had entire conversations for like hours where I was defending the Bible as like the inspired word of God and nothing was missing from it. And I don't know that to be the case, but I like taking a side on it. And then we argue about it, and something you might say might be compelling to me and push me off a little bit, where I won't in the moment say like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. You're right about that. Yeah. But later I'm going to be like, maybe it's not the inspired. Maybe it's not the full thing. But I love the argument, the debate that gets us to that point. Yeah. No, that's what we got to talk to people. Earlier, you were talking about how change your mind on Trump, change your mind on Obama. I really believe this, that everyone is a monster until you sit down and talk with them. And that your worst enemy could literally come onto this set, sit down, and you realize like, man, we agree on like 85% of stuff.
No, yeah.
Like that 15% might mean something. We get emotional
on an individual
about it,
level,
but it's like
all humans are good.
They're good people. They're good people.
But then once I think that becomes like a tribal thing, and
it does. And it happens with religion. And I think that happens. It's perpetuated
but that
by
was the
social
thing
media.
too, like Ben, right? We would, because I remember Bernie went on Fox, right? And it was funny because it was supposed to be like they were trying to like get him and shit, but then he had the whole audience like on his side. He's like, oh, like, you know, how he talks or whatever. And but basically I was just like, why don't more Democrats go on shows? Like, I was talking to this with Ben, and then he's like, what? He's like, fuck that, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, and he's like, why would they go on there? Like, you know, and just like, I guess give that outlet credibility. But I'm like, dude, but it's just like, you know, when like everyone, you guys all love AOC and shit. Why isn't she like going on
Fox News?
Yeah,
go on Fox News, AOC. Like,
and
they
even
would
the
have
whole
you
like
on.
the how they say Trump won the election because he went on Rogan. He went, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And fucking Kamala didn't go on any of those. You know,
Yeah.
It's
the ability to go somewhere that you're not going to be the favorite and go make your argument and go be heard.
I feel like the argument that the Democrats have or whatever is a good argument, you know what I mean? But they don't want to make it to like the people that they know, or like, you know, and they
I'm not talking to the Republicans with this argument,
dude,
you know. But that's why I like Bill Maher's show, because he has so many Republicans on, and he doesn't care. Like, he had Steve Bannon on when he got out of prison. You know, he'll have anyone, and they'll have a sit down discussion, and you realize, man, these are not like enemies. They see the world. They think people are crazy, but they sit down and have a conversation and say, like, here's why I think you're wrong. We need more of that. And I think half the problem, and people talk about this with social media and Instagram, but I've seen it play out in my own life, where politically, people I know who I won't name, who were very close with me, they'll see one side of the other party. They see, like, Instagram is showing Republicans the craziest 10% of Democrats, right?
Outrage.
And then for Republicans or for Democrats, they're showing them the craziest, like, KKK, alt-right radical groups that are out there. And then they associate, like, every Republican is that. Every liberal is that. It's like, man, the reason I loved Elon's idea for the America Party is I thought, man, you know what? All my friends would probably be in the same party. Like, we agree so much. We're all like here. None of us are on the fringes. We're here, and we would all be in the same political party. 80% of Americans agree on most of this stuff.
But they keep us distracted with this other shit,
really
like the transgender stuff, and which they got me, dude. They got me, dude.
There's those polarizing issues.
Like,
it's the trans stuff. It still goes back to abortion. Anywhere you have a single issue voter, the abortion one is a big one for single issue voters, and people where their religion comes out to it as well. And then you have these other sides of it now where it's like, you know, where are you at in America first? Like, that can be a very like polarizing thing. And then some of the issues that we should be talking about that no party is talking about anymore at all is fiscal conservatism. Like, the Republicans like left that so far. It's just like, no one talks about maybe we shouldn't spend as much. I heard this quote from Milton Friedman. You know Milton Friedman? I never heard of the guy until like a year ago.
Oh, really?
And I just found him on social media, and I started going through it. I'm like, man, this guy's this is such good stuff, you know? It's like, oh, he was giving these talks in the 80s, in the 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, we haven't
love that
adopted
part
this
of
stuff
it.
yet,
Like,
you know? It's just like, it's just wild, the stuff he said. He said, never in the history of American government has a politician gotten up and said, hey, we taxed you for this cause. It was successful. We no longer need to tax you for that anymore because the welfare program worked. Or like the set aside we did for this, it worked.
It's just endless.
If we add a government program, it stays forever. You never get a fix for it. So when you hear things like, oh, the state of California has spent $1 million per homeless person in an effort to fix the homelessness crisis.
But it's the same homeless people out there.
And the program still exists. No, it's grown 3 times as many homeless people
like
in
billions,
California,
dude.
right?
Like,
And it's like, well, the government spending doesn't fix anything. And so
and
when
where's
I think
that money
about,
going,
like,
dude? Like, who is someone's getting rich? It's going somewhere.
When you audit it, you find out that it's not going to the cause it went to. It's a bunch of nonprofits that are in there, and people who are siphoning and sucking it all off. And then you say, well, maybe we should start solving more with private industry instead of solving it with government, because government doesn't know how to keep the sharks from coming in. Think about those PPP loans during COVID. They found out that like 80% of those went to fraud, dude.
Right?
Fraud. 80%.
VA disability, dude.
Right? Don't get me started on that one, okay? Don't get me started on VA disability. It's just the government is not set up to combat fraud, but private industry that is doing audits and looking at where their money is going and why, they're much smarter with it. So I'm saying let's do less government, smaller government. Let's keep the social I'm not saying do away with welfare, do away with food stamps, but let's privatize it. And that way we can make sure that we're actually helping people up and that there's a way for upward mobility. The 55 million people who are on food stamps, what is their path to get off of food stamps?
No, it's to keep them addicted to that, dude. And
well, it is. And then you find out, hey, if they make $10,000 more a year and get a better job, they don't get food stamps anymore. So it's like, are we giving people a real incentive to do better in life or just to accept the fate that they're given? And then the government's just handing them dollars. And I don't like it. That's what makes me a libertarian. What makes me want to at least open the conversation up about where's our spending going and what are we getting for what we're spending? We're like the heaviest tax country.
And no matter what, like, it's like, okay, we can keep the programs going, but then our fucking, you know, our debt's going to keep rising. You know what I mean? And then like eventually, because what's crazy, like the biggest thing the stat that I saw was like, our interest payment is bigger than the actual budget for the military. For the military, dude.
Yeah. Isn't it like $7 trillion a year in interest?
It's crazy, dude.
No, it's not that. It's
you could just look at America like if it was just a person with a fucking credit card, dude.
Yeah.
Like eventually all you're paying for is like because that's what fucking happens with credit card debt, right?
No,
it's
it's
like,
true.
You just keep fucking swiping it and then eventually, you know, the interest payments just like fuck you up or whatever. So like it's like those people that want to keep these programs and stuff, all the stuff that sounds good, it's like, yeah, we can do that, but then eventually, you know, we will just eventually have to get rid of it because we can't afford it or whatever. Yeah. And then like when Trump does something to like kind of cut spending or whatever, like no matter where you cut, dude, like someone's going to be fucking mad, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's
That's
like,
so
there's never, you know, there's always going to be something.
Entitlement. It's entitlement. Yeah. It's a real thing. I get VA benefits. You take it away, I'm entitled to that. That's part of my income. I think about that as something I've earned that I know is coming in guaranteed.
You saw how like
that's my welfare.
There's like an up like when and it was like they wanted to reevaluate people to see if they were getting better. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the purpose of it, right?
God, no.
Yeah, but no, it's
handouts. It's
but
handouts.
now, but there was because I've all those, everyone was just like flipping out about that, dude, and it's just like what?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole, you know, but I get it, you know, obviously it's like, it's that gravy train. You don't want it to stop. You know what I'm saying? Like
the entitlement. Someone's got to fix the entitlement stuff, but someone has to find a way to also say the government program worked. We're not moving on from it. Congratulations. And there's always going to be somebody left behind.